I'm 53 years old. I'd always thought of myself as someone who plays it safe, emotionally, at least. I raised 2 kids mostly on my own. I work at a local insurance office, and I keep to myself. I've loved, lost, and made peace with the idea that my best days were probably behind me. Love. That was for the younger, bolder version of me, the version that believed in spontaneity and butterflies. But then, something happened, something I never expected. It started with a simple favor, a drive I thought nothing of. And yet, it shifted something deep inside me. I never thought something like this could happen to me. Please, don't make the same mistake I did. The day it all started was unusually warm for early spring in Oregon. I had just finished folding laundry when my phone buzzed with a message from my friend Rachel. "Hey, could you possibly give Tyler a ride? His practice ran late and I'm stuck in traffic." Tyler, her little brother. Well, little wasn't the word I'd use anymore. He was 17 now, tall and lean, all limbs and shaggy dark hair. I remembered when he was just a freckled little boy playing with Nerf guns in her backyard. I'd known Rachel for years, long enough that her family felt like a strange extension of mine. Tyler was almost like another nephew. Of course, I said yes. I pulled into the high school parking lot, the sun hanging low, casting long gold shadows across the asphalt. A few stragglers were still coming out of the gym, their laughter echoing as they shoved each other playfully. Then I saw him, Tyler, walking toward me in his sweat-soaked t-shirt and track pants, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder. He opened the passenger door and smiled. "Thanks, Miss Holloway. You're a lifesaver." "Oh, please," I laughed. "You can drop the Ms. Makes me feel ancient." "Okay, Sarah," he said, grinning wider. And just like that, I felt it, that odd flutter, so small I almost dismissed it. We pulled out of the lot and headed toward his place, making small talk. He asked about my kids, both away at college, and I asked how school was going. But then the conversation drifted. He told me he was thinking of skipping prom, that he felt like he didn't really fit in, that people didn't really see him. "I don't know," he said, looking out the window. "Sometimes I feel like I'm just background noise, even at home. Rachel's busy with her job, and my mom's hardly around anymore." I glanced at him, the way his jaw was clenched, the way his voice carried a hint of something heavy. "You're not background noise," I said softly. "You're still finding your voice. It takes time." He turned to me, and our eyes met for a moment too long. Then he looked away. We drove in silence for a while, the air growing thicker somehow, like something unsaid was filling the space between us. When we pulled into Rachel's driveway, he didn't get out right away. Instead, he sat there, staring at the dashboard. Then he turned to me again. "Can I ask you something kinda weird?" he said, his voice low. "Of course." "Why are you always so calm? Like you seem like you've got everything figured out." I chuckled quietly. "That's a good illusion, huh? Truth is, I'm just good at pretending." He smiled faintly. "Still, you make me feel like I'm not invisible." There it was again, that strange tug in my chest, a mix of affection and something I couldn't quite name yet, something I wasn't sure I was ready to feel. "Thanks for the ride," he said, finally opening the door. "You're welcome, Tyler." He hesitated, then added, "Can we do it again sometime? Just talk." I nodded. "Sure." He closed the door and disappeared into the house, and I sat there for a moment, hands still on the wheel, staring at my own reflection in the rearview mirror. Something had shifted. I wasn't sure what it was yet, but I knew deep down that this wasn't just a ride. Not really. It was the beginning of something I hadn't seen coming. The following few days passed in a kind of strange fog. I went about my routines, morning coffee, answering emails at the office, making dinner for one. But I found my thoughts drifting more often than I cared to admit. I kept replaying the conversation in the car, the softness in Tyler's voice when he said I made him feel seen. That look in his eyes when he asked if we could talk again. I told myself it was harmless. I was just being kind. That's all. He was a teenager navigating life, and I was simply someone who'd been around the block enough to offer a little perspective. But I knew that wasn't entirely true. Rachel called again that Friday. "Sarah, I hate to ask, but can you pick Tyler up again? Mom's out of town, and I've got a late meeting. He says he's fine to walk, but I'd feel better if he got a ride." There was a pause on the line. Then she added with a little laugh, "He actually asked if you'd be the one to get him. Said he liked talking to you." My heart did something odd in my chest. A twist, almost like guilt, and anticipation wrapped together. "I don't mind," I said, trying to keep my voice light. That afternoon, I found myself waiting in the same spot as before. I'd even freshened up a little more than usual before leaving the house, just a touch of lipstick, a nicer blouse. Silly, I know, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. He climbed into the car again, same easy smile, a little less sweat this time. "You came," he said, like he hadn't been entirely sure I would. "Of course I did. I said I would." We drove a while without talking much. There was a quiet comfort in it. I liked the way he leaned back in the seat, his head tilted toward the window, one knee bouncing slightly, restless energy barely contained. "I've been thinking about what you said," he murmured after a minute. "What I said?" "About pretending. How you said you're good at it." I glanced at him. "Yeah?" He nodded slowly. "I get that. I pretend all the time. Like I've got it together. Like I'm okay with being alone most of the time. But I'm not." There was something so open in the way he said it. No mask, no sarcasm, just raw honesty. I admired that. "You know," I said softly, "when I was your age, I used to sit in my room for hours and wonder if anyone would ever really know me. Not just talk to me or be around me, but really know me." He turned toward me, the smallest furrow in his brow. "Do you think anyone ever really does?" The question lingered in the car like a breath that wasn't let out. "I think," I said after a moment, "sometimes it happens when we least expect it. But most people are too scared to let it." He didn't respond right away, just looked out the window. We passed a long stretch of trees lining the road, dappled with the light of a setting sun. Then he said quietly, "I'm not scared. Not when I'm with you." Something shifted again in the air. My fingers tightened on the wheel. I didn't know what to say, not really. I could have changed the subject, laughed it off, told him it was just hormones or teenage confusion. But I didn't. Instead, I parked the car in front of his house and turned off the engine. The silence that followed was almost deafening. He looked at me, really looked. There was something behind his eyes, something searching, uncertain. Not lust, not a challenge, just a longing to be understood. I reached out, my hand resting gently on his for just a moment, a touch that meant nothing and everything. "You're going to be okay," I whispered. "I promise." He held my gaze, then slowly nodded. I don't want this to be the last time we talk." "It won't be," I said, though I wasn't entirely sure if I was promising him or myself. He got out of the car, walked slowly up to the porch, and paused before going in. Then he turned and gave me one last look over his shoulder, an unspoken question hanging in the air between us. I drove away feeling something bloom in my chest, a strange warmth, tangled with confusion and the ache of something I hadn't felt in years. And somewhere, deep in the quiet of that evening, I knew a line had been crossed, not in action, but in thought. And thoughts, I was learning, could be just as powerful. I didn't hear from Rachel for a few days after that. No requests for rides. No casual texts. I told myself it was a good thing, that maybe things would fade back into their usual rhythm, that my mind would stop drifting to places it shouldn't, that I'd stop replaying the way Tyler had looked at me or the soft way he'd said, "I'm not scared," but I couldn't stop. I found myself lingering over small things, songs on the radio, the scent of eucalyptus in my bathroom that reminded me of him, oddly enough, because it was the scent of the hand sanitizer in my car that day. I'd catch myself standing in the middle of the kitchen, just thinking, remembering, feeling. And then, one evening, my phone lit up with a message. "Tyler. Hey, you busy?" My heart beat just a little faster. I hesitated a moment before typing back. "Me? No. What's up?" He replied almost immediately. "Tyler, could we talk? I can walk over, if that's okay." It was nearly 8. The sky was already dimming into purple and gold. My house was quiet, as it always was these days. I stood at the window for a long time, staring out at the empty street, my thoughts buzzing with everything I should say no to, and everything I wanted to say yes to. "Me, you can come by for a bit. Back porch? I'll leave the gate open." 15 minutes later, I heard the faint creak of the wooden gate. Then his footsteps. When I opened the back door, he was already sitting on the old cushioned bench beneath the porch light, his hoodie pulled halfway up over his curls. "You sure this is okay?" he asked, eyes meeting mine in that same searching way. I nodded. "It's just talking, Tyler." He gave a little half smile. "That's what I like about you. You don't act weird. You don't treat me like a kid." "You're not a kid," I said, lowering myself into the chair across from him. "But you're not grown either. And that space in between, it can feel like nobody understands it." He looked at me for a long while, then said, "I'm tired of pretending, of acting like I don't feel things I'm not supposed to feel." The words hit harder than I expected, not because they were inappropriate, but because they were honest, raw. And I knew that place. I'd lived there once. "I know the feeling," I said carefully. "But sometimes we feel something and misread what it means. It doesn't make it wrong. But it doesn't always mean we should act on it either." He didn't look away. What if it's not a mistake? The air between us thickened. I could feel the porch light humming above us, the faint chirp of night insects, the creak of the old wood beneath my feet. The world around us continued, unaware of the shift unfolding in the small space between two people from two very different points in life. "I'm not trying to confuse you," I said, keeping my voice gentle. "And I don't want to hurt you, Tyler." "You haven't," he said. "Actually, you've made me feel like I matter. Like someone actually sees me." The ache in his voice undid me, because I'd felt the same. Different reasons, same feeling. Like I'd been invisible for too long, tucked away into a version of myself that had stopped asking for more. I reached out, brushing a leaf off his shoulder, letting my hand linger for just a breath too long. "You do matter." He leaned forward slightly, not aggressively, not with expectation, just close enough that I could see the softness in his expression, the almost trembling hope in his posture. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course. Would you be mad if I told you I think about you? Not like a teacher or an older person, but just someone I want to be close to." I swallowed hard. A part of me wanted to push him away, to draw the boundary clearly. But another part, the part I hadn't felt alive in for years, wanted to lean into the moment, to let it be what it was, with all its quiet complexity. "No," I said quietly. "I wouldn't be mad, but I'd want you to know this isn't simple, and it's not something either of us should rush into." He nodded, eyes never leaving mine. "I'm not in a hurry. I just wanted you to know how I feel." For a long time, we just sat there in silence, the space between us filled with unspoken thoughts, unched feelings, and a strange, deep comfort. When he finally stood to leave, he paused at the gate. "Thanks for letting me come by." "Anytime, Tyler." As I watched him disappear down the sidewalk, I felt something unexpected swell in my chest, something that felt both terrifying and profoundly tender. Not desire, not infatuation. Connection. Something real. Something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. And that surprised me more than anything. The days that followed were quiet, but not the kind of quiet I was used to. This quiet had an energy to it. A tension under the surface, like the air before a summer storm. Everything looked the same on the outside. Same neighborhood, same grocery runs, same lonely evenings. But I felt different. And I knew Tyler did too. We hadn't spoken since that night on the porch. Not because anything went wrong. If anything, it was the opposite. The intensity of that night lingered in my chest like a faint hum I couldn't shake. I think we both needed space. To think, to breathe, to figure out what this connection really meant. Then one Saturday afternoon, I saw his name flash on my phone again. "Tyler, are you home? I've been thinking, and I'd like to talk." My heart skipped in a way that startled me. I paused, staring at the message, then replied, "Me? Yes. Come by if you're ready." I put the kettle on, lit a candle on the table, out of habit more than anything. I wasn't dressing up. I wasn't expecting anything. I just wanted to be present, honest. Whatever happened next, it needed to be grounded in truth. When the doorbell rang, I opened it to find him standing there, dressed in jeans and a navy hoodie, hair still damp from a shower. He looked older, somehow, not in age, but in presence. In his eyes. "Hi," I said softly. "Hi," he echoed, his voice low. I stepped aside, and he walked in. We settled at the kitchen table, the late afternoon light casting golden rays across the floor. I poured us tea. For a few moments, we just sat in silence. Then he spoke. "I've been thinking a lot about that night, about what I said." I nodded. "Me too." He looked down at his hands, then back up at me. I wasn't just caught up in something. I meant it. I care about you. I know it's complicated, and I know how this might look to other people, but that doesn't make it less real. His honesty caught me off guard again, just like it always did. No games. No pretense. "I know you do," I said gently. "And I care about you too, Tyler. But caring about someone doesn't always mean stepping into something. Sometimes it means protecting what's good between you." He was quiet for a long time. I could see the thoughts turning behind his